It seems a lot calmer at the moment, and of course there seem to have been two very different stories to come out of these clashes. What do you understand actually happened?
Yeah, hello Bev. As is often the case in these instances, two differing versions of events of what has happened. What we know is that a little after midnight local time, a number of police did storm the Al-Aqsa compound complex. That's a site that's also significant for Jews. They call it the Temple Mount, but it is a significant holy site for Muslims, particularly at the moment as we're in the middle of Ramadan, the holy month for Muslims. And what we understand is that a number of worshippers had been holed up, had barricaded themselves inside a mosque in this compound. From their side, they say they were staying there, including holding fireworks with them, because they feared that Jews would come to this site and perform a ritual sacrifice. And they say that they were trying to deter that from happening and to ward off any attempt at that. Israeli police say that these Palestinians were barricading the mosque. They say that they posed a threat to Jews who might go to worship at the site when the site opened in a few hours' time. And they say that their presence going into there and storming that site was unavoidable. They say that when they entered the site, they were shot at with fireworks, and they used stun grenades and bullets, rubber-tipped bullets, to clear the compound. We have seen videos, though, of Palestinians being beaten by police using the butts of their guns to beat Palestinians. We're trying to get confirmation of that footage, but we have put the question to Israeli police, and they say that those instances and those allegations are being investigated, but Israel says their actions were unavoidable. Palestinians say they were assaulted, and it comes back to this ongoing conflict over this compound, the issue of sovereignty. As it stands under a long-standing agreement, Palestinians, Muslims, are the only people who are able to worship at this site. Jews are able to visit the Al-Aqsa compound, known to them as the Temple Mount, but this incident overnight has certainly sparked fresh tension here. We have seen reprisal attacks from Gaza. Militants in Gaza have fired at least a dozen rockets out of Gaza into Israel. Most of them were intercepted by Israel's missile defence system, the Iron Dome. And Israel has, in response, conducted a number of airstrikes in Gaza as well. They say targeting Hamas weapons facilities. So this is an incredibly tense period, and we are expecting that the situation could escalate further over the coming days.
Yes, because of course there's this overlap of Ramadan and Passover, so this could really provoke further problems.
And this has been, Bev, one of the issues in this incident. There have been reports that extremist Jews would try to take a goat onto this site, what they say is the Temple Mount, and conduct a ritual sacrifice there. In fact, earlier today, local time, someone actually was caught trying to smuggle a goat into the Al-Aqsa compound to carry out one of these sacrifices. It would be seen as extremely provocative, extremely controversial, and against the status quo if that were to happen. And what happens in Al-Aqsa doesn't stay in Al-Aqsa. Al-Aqsa is watched by the entire Muslim world, which is why we have seen so many Arab countries come out in condemnation of this incident over the last 24 hours. And we know that in the coming hours, the Arab League will be holding an emergency meeting discussing further actions. Militant groups have promised further retaliation, and Al-Aqsa has been a traditional flashpoint of violence, particularly during Ramadan over the last couple of years. And the Arab League in particular say that this has been a real assault at a very sacred place during a particularly sacred time for Muslims. Israel says it's working to maintain the status quo, and police, when I spoke with them earlier today, said they are not looking for any further violence.
Yeah. You know, it just does point to this concern, you know, these heightened tensions at the moment, and it's not just over this issue. It's been really rumbling on now for months. Now, you look at this proposed National Guard. There's been promised to the ultra-right Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir. There must be broader concerns in Israel about him being given this almost form of militia.
Yeah, there have been very senior members of the Israeli security forces that have actually raised concerns about the operations of this so-called National Guard, who would run it, what it would look like, what authority it would have. We're not quite sure what a National Guard would look like yet. That's still under consideration by a committee that's been set up by the Cabinet. They're examining what it might look like, but what we understand is it would be some sort of law enforcement agency that would be charged with having control over Arab-Israeli relations, and that could include, and these are the fears that some Palestinians have, targeting Arabs in this part of the world. Now, at the moment, no one has been put in charge of this so-called National Guard, but there have been concerns expressed that it will go to the man you've just referred to, Bev, Itamar Ben-Gvir. He is an ultra-nationalist member of the Knesset, a member of Benjamin Netanyahu's coalition. He is somebody who, in the past, has been convicted for inciting terrorism against Arabs. He is now the National Security Minister, and that is why there have been people like the head of the Shin Bet, the Israeli intelligence agency, and also the Mossad, that have expressed concerns about who will run this National Guard. There have been calls from senior members of those agencies that if this National Guard isn't implemented correctly, it could actually damage Israeli citizenry. At the moment, as it stands, Bev, this is before a committee. They'll be looking at the operations of it, the purview of this National Guard, who might run it, and they're expected to report back in about 3 months' time.
Really interesting and so tense. We will watch with interest. Allyson, thank you very much.